Money is not paper. It is not digital zeros refreshing on a regional bank's mobile app. It is the operating system of your reality. The exact version of this software you run determines the physical resolution of your world. It dictates what you consume, who you marry, and precisely how much your finite time is worth to the machine. Level 1, the small gear, $2,000 a month, $24,000 a year, gross. You are a W-2 anomaly, a completely replaceable variable plotted on an algorithmic shift scheduling software. You wake up at 5:47 a.m., not for a curated morning routine, but because the municipal transit system requires exactly 52 minutes to deliver your physical body to a location where your presence is slowly converted into capital. There is no romance at this altitude. There is only a brutal daily triage. Last Thursday, your uncle passed away. You did not attend the funeral. The calculus was simple. Missing a Friday shift equates to exactly $112 after taxes. The emotional deficit of a missed goodbye was priced into your budget. You sold your grief to cover the winter heating bill. It was a cold, rational business transaction, a necessary liquidation of your humanity to maintain baseline solvency. At this level, you do not possess an investment portfolio. Concepts like a tax loss harvesting or a stepped-up basis are a foreign language spoken in a country you do not have the passport to visit. Vanguard and BlackRock are invisible monoliths that own the real estate you rent, but you will never see the inside of their prospectuses. You are operating with zero liquidity. You are one broken alternator away from a systemic collapse. When the check engine light illuminates, it is not an inconvenience. It is a catastrophic default event. You do not have an emergency fund. You finance your basic survival through revolving credit at a 29.9% APR. You are paying a premium for the privilege of being poor. You are the fuel. The microtransactions you make, the $4 energy drink to stay awake, the $12 streaming subscription to numb the exhaustion, funnel directly upward. You are not building equity. You are paying the dividends of the shareholders in the levels above you. You exist in a state of perpetual grinding friction. The architecture relies on your absolute lack of capital to keep you stationary. You do not have the financial velocity to escape the gravity of your own recurring expenses. You are functioning exactly as designed. But the machine has layers, and as you step into the elevator, the physics of this world begin to change. Level 2. The Golden Handcuffs, $20,000 a month, $240,000 a year. You are no longer a statistical rounding error. You are a highly calibrated operational expense. You believe you have ascended the pyramid. You are mistaken. You have simply traded a cage of iron for a cage of glass. You are a high-earning W-2 employee, which means you are the primary host organism for the Internal Revenue Service. You possess no corporate shell. You have no access to a 1031 exchange to defer the bleed, and you earn no carried interest. You are taxed at ordinary income rates, the absolute highest penalty the system can legally extract. You rent a $6,200 a month apartment in a glass tower designed to isolate you from the city below. You do not own the real estate. You are merely financing the mortgage of the private equity firm that acquired the building. Your lifestyle has mathematically inflated to consume your surplus liquidity. This is not accidental. The machine requires your cash flow to recycle back into the consumer economy. Your biology is now a managed asset. Your sleep cycle is chemically regulated. Amphetamines to jumpstart the cognitive engine at 6 a.m., benzodiazepines to force a shutdown at midnight. This is not healthcare. It is a calculated maintenance cost to ensure your neurological hardware can process 80-hour weeks without a catastrophic structural failure. The human cost at this altitude is swift and absolute. At 11:14 p.m. on a Tuesday, your fiancé terminates the engagement via text message. You do not leave the office. You do not cry. You compartmentalize the emotional destruction, categorizing it as an acceptable sunk cost to finalize a DCF model for a mid-cap tech acquisition. The engagement ring cost $14,000. Your projected year-end bonus is $85,000. In the cold architecture of your newly rewired brain, it is a net positive trade. You amortize the heartbreak over the next 3 fiscal quarters. You dutifully max out your 401k. You execute backdoor Roth IRA conversions. You pat yourself on the back for your financial literacy. It is an illusion. You are systematically handing your capital over to Vanguard and BlackRock. They take your liquidity, charge you basis points for the privilege, and use your money to buy voting rights on corporate boards you will never be invited to sit on. You are trapped by unvested restricted stock units. The vesting schedule is a 4-year cliff designed explicitly to paralyze your mobility. You cannot quit. You are too rich to complain and too poor to stop working. You are a premium gear, polished, well-lubricated, and spinning at maximum RPM. But you are still just a gear. You do not own the machine. To do that, you must cross the chasm into equity. Level 3. The Capital Allocator. $200,000 a month, $2.4 million a year. The physics of money have entirely inverted. At level 1, you worked for money. At level 2, you optimized money. At level 3, money works for you. You have shed the W-2 like a restrictive synthetic skin. You are no longer compensated for your labor. You are compensated for the deployment of capital. Your income arrives via K-1 distributions. It is classified as long-term capital gains and carried interest. You legally pay a lower effective tax rate than the janitor who polishes the marble lobby of your building. You operate in the absolute silence before the market makers awake. You do not check bank balances. You review AUM, assets under management. You consume 10K filings for breakfast, scanning for microscopic vulnerabilities in corporate supply chains that you can exploit through aggressive short positions or leveraged buyouts. The terminal is not a tool. It is your central nervous system, wired directly into the global flow of liquidity. You do not buy assets under your own name. You are a ghost in the system. Your primary residence is owned by a Wyoming LLC. Your vehicles are leased through an S corporation to maximize depreciation deductions. When you sell a commercial property, you never realize the gain. You execute a 1031 exchange, rolling the capital directly into a larger asset, indefinitely deferring the tax liability. The strategy is absolute: buy, borrow, die. You will hold these assets until your biological termination, at which point your heirs will receive a stepped-up basis, erasing decades of taxable gains in a single cold stroke of the legislative pen. You have weaponized the tax code. The human cost at this altitude is profound, but you do not feel it. You have quantified it. It is 3:45 p.m. on a Thursday. A text arrives from your $110,000 a year private nanny. It contains video evidence of a developmental milestone: your daughter riding a bicycle unassisted. You are currently locked in a boardroom, finalizing the liquidation of a Midwestern manufacturing plant, a decision that will result in 400 people losing their livelihoods by Friday morning. You do not leave the meeting. You do not experience guilt. You watch the 6-second video, send an automated reaction, and immediately wire $65,000 into her generation-skipping trust. You have rationalized your absence through fiscal superiority. You are not a father. You are a primary liquidity provider. You outsourced the mundane operational tasks of parenting so you could focus on maximizing the family office's quarterly yield. It is a highly efficient delegation of emotional labor. Your personal relationships are indistinguishable from corporate mergers. Your marriage is bound by an operating agreement that reads like a hostile takeover defense strategy. Infidelity is mathematically modeled with specific financial penalties. Divorce is not a tragedy. It is simply a breach of contract resulting in a calculated severing of jointly held assets. You are isolated, untouchable, and completely insulated by layers of legal architecture. The machine no longer grinds against you. You are the oil that lubricates its heaviest gears. But even now, with millions arriving in your accounts, you are not the architect. You are merely a preferred shareholder in a game designed by someone else. Level 4, the market maker. $2 million a month. $24 million a year in baseline management fees, entirely excluding your 20% performance carry. At this altitude, the concept of a monthly salary is an archaic fiction meant to pacify the lower floors. You do not earn money. You capture it. You have transcended the need to analyze individual companies. You are no longer betting on the success or failure of human enterprise. You're betting on the microstructure of the machine itself. You authorize the expenditure of $85 million to lay a straight-line dedicated fiber optic cable from Chicago to New Jersey. You do this to reduce your algorithmic trading latency by precisely 3 milliseconds. Those 3 milliseconds allow your servers to intercept the buy orders of the Level 1 and Level 2 participants before they register on the public exchange. You execute the purchase a fraction of a cent cheaper in the dark pools, then instantly sell it to them. It is latency arbitrage. You are legally front-running the entire working class. To them, it is a zero-commission trade. To you, it is a guaranteed, risk-free extraction of micropennies harvested billions of times a day. The human cost at this echelon is total, irreversible, and entirely outsourced. At 8:14 p.m., your private medical concierge calls to confirm that your mother's aggressive onset Alzheimer's has reached stage 6. She no longer possesses the cognitive architecture to recognize your face. You do not break down. You do not fly to her bedside. You process her mental decline as a catastrophic, unrecoverable data corruption. You authorize an immediate transfer to an elite $35,000 a month memory care facility in Geneva. You view this monthly expenditure not as an act of familial love, but as a mandatory insurance premium paid to protect your own psychological capital. You cannot afford to let the friction of grief impair your baseline cognition while managing a delta-neutral portfolio highly levered against the Japanese yen. The laws that govern the bottom 3 levels are completely invisible to you. You operate in the shadows of over-the-counter derivatives, bound only by bespoke ISDA master agreements negotiated in absolute secrecy. When the Securities and Exchange Commission eventually investigates your firm for market manipulation, you do not go to trial. You pay a $15 million fine without admitting or denying wrongdoing. It is not a punishment, it is a regulatory toll road, a minor operational expense line item buried on page 47 of your firm's annual 10K filing. You no longer care who sits in the Oval Office. You only care who chairs the Federal Reserve. Your entire wealth architecture relies on the infinite quantitative expansion of the fiat money supply. You package the debts of the lower levels, their auto loans, their high-interest credit cards, their underwater mortgages, into securitized, collateralized tranches. You sell the catastrophic risk to regional pension funds and keep the aggressive yield for yourself. You are actively cannibalizing the future stability of the W-2 worker to fund the multi-generational endowments of your family office today. You control the weather. You provide the liquidity that allows the machine to function without tearing itself apart. But even as a market maker, you are still playing within the boundaries of the casino. You are the house's favorite player, but you do not own the house. There is only one level left, the level that designed the architecture, the level that prints the chips. Level 5, the system architect, the ghost. You do not possess a monthly income. Income is a measurable metric, a concept engineered strictly for the taxable classes. You have transcended personal wealth. You possess sovereign liquidity. You do not have a bank account balance. You have direct access to the M0 monetary base. You do not analyze markets. You design the macroeconomic environment in which the markets exist. The Level 4 market makers believe they are the apex predators. They are wrong. They are simply playing in the casino. You own the printing press that manufactures the chips. When you make a decision, it is not recorded on a Bloomberg terminal. It is drafted into policy. By adjusting the cost of capital by a mere 25 basis points, you possess the godlike ability to dictate the unemployment rate of millions. You decide which emerging markets default on their sovereign debt and which multinational conglomerates are deemed too big to fail. The human cost at the absolute peak of the pyramid is the complete and total eradication of your humanity. You are no longer a person. You are a legal entity. At 3:12 a.m. on a Sunday, your spouse of 42 years suffers a catastrophic cardiac failure. The telemetry monitor sounds the alarm. Their body cools on the 800 thread count Egyptian cotton. You do not weep. You do not attempt CPR. You do not hold their hand. Grief is a biological inefficiency you purged decades ago. You pick up the receiver and dial your lead trustee in Zurich. Your spouse's biological termination is not a tragedy. It is a highly anticipated generation-skipping transfer tax event. You instantly execute the activation clause of a charitable lead annuity trust, shielding $7.4 billion from the IRS before the paramedics even breach the front gates. You are insulated from all consequence. When the Level 4 market makers over-leverage and trigger a systemic credit freeze, they do not go bankrupt. They come to you, and you save them. You socialize their catastrophic losses by expanding the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. You print trillions of dollars out of thin air. You rescue the billionaires, and you pass the invoice directly to the bottom. It is called inflation. It is a silent, unlegislated, regressively cruel tax. The microscopic devaluation of the currency ensures that the Level 1 worker can no longer afford basic protein. You starve the foundation to ensure the penthouse never loses power. You look down at the architecture, it is flawless. It is a closed-loop system of human extraction, powered by desperation and maintained by algorithmic precision. It does not care about your happiness, it only cares about the transfer of capital. And the machine is always hungry. Somewhere in zip code 60629, an 18-year-old opens their eyes in the dark. Today is their first day in the workforce. They will sign a W-2. They believe if they work hard enough, they will build a life. They do not know they have already been priced into the model. They are the new friction, the new fuel. They will grind their bones into the gears, and the dividends will flow upward to ghosts they will never meet. The machine has acquired a new asset. Welcome to the system. Get to work.